I think that's important because we go through life and we can quickly complain about what we've been through.
Right.
But we never count our blessings for those great things that happen. And even count our blessings for those things that happen in a negative way, because you can always turn something around to be positive.
It's part of the process.
Right, exactly. And it's about how you think and how you internalize things and what you do with even trauma that you experience in your life.
Welcome back to the Too Stubborn to Fail podcast. I'm your host, Darren Perkins, and this guest hits close to home today. Family. This actually, I believe you were the first one that I hit up when I was thinking about a podcast way back when, and been excited about this particular episode for a very long time. You might have been the first person that I told that I was thinking about a podcast.
Wow.
But now we're here, and we're going to have some good content today.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So without further ado, we have the owner of Crazy for Gaming, the owner of Micah's Ice Cream Truck. We're just going to call you a serial entrepreneur because you got so much. You got so much going on that we could literally make it about 5 minutes long. But my aunt, Crystal King, how are you doing today?
I'm great, and I am so excited to be here with you today because, like you said, I remember us having this initial conversation, and you told me how you wanted to launch this and you wanted me involved, and people shouldn't take those type of things, those type of experiences when people come to you and they ask you to be a part of their journey, their business. People shouldn't take those things lightly. So I count it all joy and a pleasure to be on your show with you today.
Absolutely. And we've had conversations in the past that probably should have been recorded anyway.
Yes.
So it just makes sense to get it on tape.
Right.
But let's just hop right in. Being from the DMV area, can you kind of explain how it was growing up in the DMV for you?
Yeah, so for me, growing up in the DC area, which I don't get back up there very often because I live in Fredericksburg, Virginia now. But being there was a little different because, I basically lived in two different households. Right. And some people would complain about that, but I believe that living in two households actually created a lot of balance for me. And it has really, really made me who I am today. So when we talk about resilience and when we're talking about never giving up and when we talk about just giving your all and just basically doing what you got to do to make stuff happen, my childhood definitely had a huge impact on that. It had an impact because, the way I looked at things was a little different from how most people looked at things and internalized things.
Right.
And I find that I took the negative things that I experienced in life and tried to turn them around to be something positive and have a positive situation, right? And I think that's important because we go through life and we can quickly complain about what we've been through,
right?
But we never count our blessings for those great things that happen, and even count our blessings for those things that happen in a negative way, because you can always turn something around to be positive.
It's part of the process.
Right, exactly. And it's about how you think and how you internalize things and what you do with even trauma that you experience in your life. Because if you walk around always complaining, oh, this happened to me, okay, but what's next?
Right.
What you gonna do next? You know what I'm saying? How are you gonna make your situation work for you?
Right.
And so I've always been one to make my situation work for me, and in whatever case that might have been, whether it was just life in general. Or business, because I can talk about business all day.
We're definitely going to get into that too.
Talk about business.
And it's funny that you said dealing with traumas, um, there always is, that notion that this can be holding you back. But when you think about it, it's a lot of people that go through a lot of things.
Yes.
And the difference between the people who make it and the people who don't is, they just choose to choose to let it go.
Yeah. And you have to choose to be a warrior in every situation that you go through, right? Because if you don't choose to, what I mean by choose to be a warrior, I mean like in your mind, really like make up your mind that you are not going to settle for anything less than what you can have, right? Now that requires you to dream and think bigger. That requires sometimes for you to be outside of yourself and your self mind, like literally removing yourself from your body, having an outer body experience, and really thinking about where you want to be, what you want your life to be, and consciously make decisions to make stuff like that happen. You know what I'm saying? Because if you always just sitting around complaining, nothing's going to happen.
Nothing.
And you can't look at your success, you can't look at my success and take it as, well, they doing this, I'm just going to sit here and not do anything. Well, you just going to sit there and not do anything. Yeah. But then you can't complain about what D is doing. You can't complain about how D is progressing when you are not doing anything to put in the work for you to progress.
Amen. So when we talk about people in positions where they feel like things may not be going the way that they necessarily plan for them to go, that's okay.
Yeah, that's
because even when you do see people doing things that you would like to do, that doesn't mean that they have it all figured out.
No,
they just chose work on
different, right? That is exactly what that means. That is exactly. And I'm a big fan of paying it forward to people, but I am very aware of my time, and my time is valuable to me, right? And I do know that people are in different seasons in their lives to where maybe they in that sit down season where they just waiting for things to happen for them. Right. I wish them the best, but I don't know how to say this any other way. They are not worth my time, right? Because now let me tell you what is worth my time. Somebody coming to me and saying, "Hey, I have this idea. Can you help me with it?" That's worth my time, right? But if you coming to me half-ass and you don't really know what you're doing, and I gotta motivate you to do what you. I mean, I'm talking about some of that motivation and inspiration you should be drawing from yourself. It shouldn't all come from me.
It has to come from them.
Right, it has to come from them. So I'm good with motivating, but I need you to have your stuff together when you come to me and say, "Hey, I need help with this. I got it. You got my time. Don't come half button. I'm not gonna do that."
Yes, it's funny you would say that because I did want to touch on leadership a little bit too. As a leader, there are things that I guess that you end up in situations where you're not necessarily popular.
Yes.
What are some of, would you say, what's the toughest thing about being a leader, first of all?
I believe for me, the toughest thing about being a leader, because I consider myself a servant leader. So I'm the type of person where I'll get in and do all the work. I'll get dirty and do all the work myself, right? But being an efficient leader, and I had to learn this over the years, and actually my pastor, Pastor Troy, he has taught me a lot about leadership, right? And in actuality, being a good leader is not getting in and doing all the work yourself, right? It's more about, okay, you got in there, you did the work, you have the experience, now bring another leader up, right? And train that leader to do great things. So that was quite different for me, especially working in my business, because when I first started, my husband and I first started Crazy for Game in 2016, to be honest with you, I was it. I was the driver, I was the bookkeeper, I was the person who put gas in it, I was the person, I was the business, right? But to be honest with you, I didn't have that mindset, that mentality at that point about growing the business. Not yet.
Right.
That didn't come then. My initial thoughts was just, okay, let me just start a business. Later on is when I got a lot more of exposure to different people and different situations. And that changed the way I thought about my business, right? So I would say one of the hardest things for me, but then I quickly learned how valuable it was for me to train up other leaders to do that task or to do, you know, that role, because it ultimately helped me.
Right.
Because I can't be in all these different places at one time, right? And if I'm trying to grow a business, if I'm trying to grow a ministry, I can lay that foundation, but it requires you to grow other leaders as well.
I think the interesting part about leadership is it's many levels to it. I would say first, in order to be a leader, like you said, the goal is to create leaders.
Yes.
Real leaders create leaders.
Yes. Yes.
And also within that, you as a leader need to be willing to be led by somebody who's worthy. Because you know you can. It's never a time where you stop learning.
No.
So you definitely need that person in your corner.
Yeah.
That qualified, albeit can lead you as well.
Yes, yes, yes. And I think that, like I said, I consider myself a servant leader as, and I get in and I do the dirty work too with my team. The other aspect to that is you got to be teachable.
Right.
You know, you as a leader, you have to be teachable, and because if you're not teachable, then I feel like you stop growing.
Yes.
You know, I never want to get to a point, even in my business, where you'll never hear me say I know it all.
Mm-hmm.
You'll hear me say I know some stuff. I know a lot, but I don't know it all.
Right.
Right. And you'll also hear me say that you should not be the smartest person in your circle. You shouldn't be, because then you stop yourself from growing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so if I'm the smartest person, I'm just bouncing off ideas off of people, but everybody in the circle they're not able to talk to me about those things and be my thought partner around those issues, because I'm the smartest one.
Your environment is everything.
Yes, it matters.
Not only in business, but just in life itself. Some things I know we need to see certain things in order to know that they're real.
Yes.
And having a circle of people that aren't necessarily on your level. You want to say not necessarily higher, but they might be in a position that you aspire to be.
Yes.
And it's important to have those people around you.
Yes. So, and I like to think that this goes back to my childhood and how I was growing up. Subconsciously, it just kind of just happened, because I never really said, okay, I want all my friends to be older than me. But my friends have usually, they're all older than me. And so I think that's great to have, but my sisters, they're older, right? So I think that I kind of like subconsciously always kept that in the back of my mind of, and I always really kind of tended to be like light years ahead of the average person that was my age. So I have a lot of different friends who are doctors, who are executives, who and we all can contribute to the conversation if we were all at the table.
Right.
You know, there is no jealousy, there is no there's none of that, because we all have our own things going on. You know what I'm saying? And with us all having our own things going on, we don't have time for some of the silly stuff that kind of goes on in, you know, kind of regular conversations where people just not doing anything, because those are useless conversations for me now.
Yes.
Very useless.
But just to touch on, we'll go back a little bit. At what point did you know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur and start that journey?
I don't know if I have the answer to that. I don't know if I really can identify. I guess in my 20s, when my husband and I were dating, we kind of talked about business, and we kind of branched out doing some other businesses when we first got married. Like I had an in-home daycare, and we also had a cleaning company when we moved to North Carolina. Both were great for that season and time in our lives, but I don't know if I really ever sat down and consciously said that I want to be a business owner. I think what happened is I just always wanted something better.
Right.
Always wanted something better, and it really got me thinking when I was working a 9 to 5 at the hospital. I mean, I'm saving these people all of this money when I can be making all of this money in my own business.
Right.
And also, I don't even really think that I've shared this outside of here. So this is you kind of get exclusive information here. When I was in my early 20s, I had a situation that happened, and there was a charge placed on my record, right? And although the positions that I applied for, I never got turned down for any positions, but it was always that fear. That fear of saying, no, you can't because of this. Right. And so in my mind, that triggered something for me. That triggered something inside of me that I did not ever want to feel anymore. And so that kind of got me going into the fact of, okay, let me really buckle down and create my own so that I can have the power to give jobs, to create wealth, right? And I can be now a little bit more flexible as a CEO with even accepting someone that might have had something on their record, right? Because now I'm able to pay it forward as a business owner, right? And do something as a small business owner that these other businesses might not be doing because they were not in my situation, right? Another business not going, they're like, oh, okay, you got something on your record, can't do it. Right. I'm going to consider that person, right? Let me look at that person's character. Let me look at that person, what they have to offer, and not really focus on that unfortunate situation. Because God gives us grace each and every day. We should be extending that grace to others as well.
That's true. And like you said, that could have been something that happened years ago.
Yes. Right.
Everybody deserves a second chance.
Yes. Totally agree. Agree.
So, where did you get the idea to start a gaming company?
Gaming
truck company?
Great question. I was actually in Alexandria with my best friend, and we were dropping her son off at a game truck party. And when I got there, I was like, I had never seen anything like that before. I mean, it was decked out, had TVs on the outside, TVs on the inside. I think this particular one that I saw actually had seats on the outside. Wow. And so I'm trying to wrap my brain around the business concept and how it works, because people pay for kids and their birthday parties, right? The video game industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, so it got me thinking. And I wasn't a gamer. I'm still not a gamer, but I know how to make money, and I had to identify things that will make money. Right. And one of those things is kids, because I have my own kids, and I know what I spend on them their birthdays, right? So I saw the idea and kind of like tossed it around and just lightweight, really like thinking about it in the beginning. But then we weren't ready. We needed to get our credit straight, and we were in the middle of we were wanting to buy a home, and we just wasn't ready. Right. So I promised myself that I would come back to the idea, and we came back to the idea the next year. Now, in that year, I had a baby. I had transitioned to working from home full time, but I was still unhappy. Right. And when you experience the level of unhappiness that I experienced, it makes you do something. It makes you change, right? Because what started to happen is I started to really focus on me and what I wanted and what I needed to push out to the world, right? So I started really like honing in on my gifts and what I could offer, and I went with it. We purchased it. You know, we did what we had to do to get some funds together, pull from my 401ks. I ain't even gonna lie, we had some credit cards, but we did what we had to do to create the business, because it was quite expensive. But it came out of a need that I just needed to do something different for me. Right. You see what I'm saying? And once you are there, you can sit there for a while, but you have to bring yourself out to what's next. What do I do next? How do I bring this idea that I have forefront, move it out, and make it happen, right? And so I sat with that probably for about a month or two, and then we made it happen.
So during this whole process, I know I definitely understand where you're coming from, where you got to a point where you had to do something because working that particular 9 to 5 was very uncomfortable for you. And sometimes that's what it takes.
Yeah, uncomfortable. Being in
Unfortunately, that's
uncomfortable
what it takes.
spaces,
Yeah,
yeah, that'll
because
push you to do some things.
we could technically start a business at any point,
Right,
but
right.
until you are at the point where you know that this is not working,
Yes,
nothing will ever happen.
right. This is true. This is true. And you gotta have some drive and some motivation and some self talks with yourself, right? Because now once you come up with this idea that you want to do, because when I saw the idea, it was actually a franchise, and I was like, no, I don't want to be a franchise.
Right.
Like I want to be my own name. I don't want to have to pay nobody royalties. I don't want to have to do any of that. And I'm saying all of this and being bold about it. I didn't know how much any of that cost,
Right.
or whether it was cheaper to be a franchise. At that point, I didn't know. I was just saying out of my mouth and already had the vision for the business, right? Because as a CEO, you have to be a great visionary.
Yes.
Got to be a great visionary, and you got to be able to start at the bottom and build, right? Build. Now, in the beginning, it was just me and my husband building, and now over time, our circle has expanded. We can kind of bring in some people, not everybody,
Right.
because everybody can't, and it's not even for everybody to see your vision, right? But if they support in your vision, they really want to know what your vision is, right? But I believe that you can have thought partners around you to help you expand on your vision, right? Because you might be thinking about something, but I come up and be like, oh, that's a good idea.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That helps. Yeah, that helps your vision expand into something great.
Yes.
So yeah, that's basically how we got started. Mobile then just made sense because we came to you, and at that time, my husband and I, we were always on the road commuting because we were both working at the hospital, so that was getting old quickly.
Yeah.
So we just wanted this new, creative, innovative idea to bring to our area, and at that time, there wasn't a mobile entertainment company or just a game truck, because when we started, it was just a game truck company. That's how it started, just a game truck. And now to see us now as a company that we've expanded into different services. But like I said, being that visionary, for me, it didn't just happen over time. You know, maybe people can say, oh, for them, they had this vision and they had all these 5 things. No, for me, that one vision was just the game truck. Give me 2 or 3 things, 2 things to work on. Let me make those things great. But I don't have to be in 5 or 7 different places. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because then I feel like I'm being spread too thin. But I say that all to say that anything that you dream of for a business, it can flourish. Yes. You can make money off of anything.
Yes. You can make money, like you said, you first just have to be in that place where you're willing to do what it takes for whatever that is to succeed.
Yep.
But to talk more about the game truck, I'm glad that it is flourishing now.
Yes.
But there was a point when this big bad monster called COVID hit.
Yes.
Could you kind of explain some of the difficulties that happened when that happened for you?
Yeah. So I like to refer to COVID as my other husband because I was ready to quickly divorce COVID right when it happened. But it ultimately made me a better leader, made me a better CEO, because I really had to make some difficult calls, some difficult decisions. And actually, when COVID hit, I had just hired 3 people.
Yeah.
I had just basically switched my hats from being a employee to a CEO. That's a whole nother topic on a whole nother day, right? So I had just made that switch. I was really moving into I had to create a lot of documents, hiring documents. I had my first job fair. Because if I was going to do it, I was just going to go ahead and do it right? So I had a job fair. I wound up hiring 3 people, and we were getting bookings that prior year. We were getting bookings the end of, when did COVID happen, 2019?
2020 is when it hit. That's when everything shut down, 2020.
Right, so that the end of that previous year, so that March, I had a job fair. Hired 3 people. We was booking services. My schools called for the whole April. I'll give you an example. For April, for that month, I was projected to make about $15,000 for just April. And so I hired, because I was like, we got to be ready,
Right.
because I saw what the calendar and the books was looking like.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, we got to be ready. I can't be at all these different places at one time, right? Mm-hmm. So I need employees. That for me was scary.
Yes.
Because now I got to pay somebody else. Mm-hmm. Like I was paying me and I got comfortable with that, but now I got to pay other employees. Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. But I just kept saying to myself, God is going to bring the money in. So not to worry. And so the money was there. COVID happened. And at the time we had purchased the first ice cream truck. We had got the idea from our son, Micah. And the ice cream truck was kind of just sitting, kind of marinating, because we was just like, it was going to be a part-time thing. Like it was just going to be a side gig. That's really what we thought about Mike's ice cream truck. It was going to be a side gig, right? So COVID caused me to pivot in a great way. It caused me to think differently about both of my businesses. It caused me to make some hard decisions. It caused a lot of tears. Mm-hmm. It caused a lot of confusion that I had to really work out in my head, because then I had to change a lot of learned behavior, mm-hmm. right? So what happened was, when COVID happened, I had to lay my folks off. Mm-hmm. I had to lay them off. Right, so I laid them off, and then I was back in the employee chair. Yeah. Right, still kind of wearing both hats because I'm still the CEO, but I had to, at that point I needed to do what I needed to do for the businesses, or both businesses. So Crazy for Gaming was completely shut down through the pandemic. It was completely shut down. So now I am thrown into which I didn't like, because I felt like control was taken away from me, and I'm kind of a little control freak, right? Because now with this side gig business that I thought was going to be a side gig, now it has become a full-time business. Yeah. Now I got to quickly find out how to move and shake in this industry, because I'm talking about game truck and then a food truck. Mm-hmm. Two totally different industries, yes. Right? And I remember just feeling overwhelmed and just what in the world? Because I wasn't ready to invest that time in that. Mm. But it was so great, because when COVID happened, a lot of things bad happened with COVID. But when COVID happened, like I said, I had to shift. But all the other businesses were shut down, right? So I was like, okay, so what folks doing for their birthdays, for the kids' birthdays? So that's when Micah's ice cream truck came back in an earlier setting. So I went through all the paperwork. Get Micah's ice cream truck, Crazy for Gaming, and shut down. Okay, boom, I'm in a truck with my boys. I'm in a truck, we driving around, we selling ice cream, we having a great time. Mm-hmm. But something that's happening, that happened then, that probably wouldn't have happened.
Go ahead.
Something that happened then that probably wouldn't have happened if I had hired employees. Those relationships and partnerships that I built out there on that first year with my boys, building that business out, and those partnerships and relationships that were built were priceless. I needed to be in the truck that year. I needed to be in the truck to connect with people, and all of those people would come back the next year, right? Yeah. So when COVID happened, when I presented the ice cream truck idea to people, what I did was I created a solution for a problem that people didn't even know that they had until they saw it.
And that's what entrepreneurs do.
Right, that's what we do. And what I mean by that is everything shut down. Chuck E. Cheese, the jump place shut down. Everybody in the house, mm-hmm. right? So you need to celebrate your kid. Mm-hmm. All right. So you see this ice cream truck ad, because now I done pushed a targeted Facebook ad out to everybody in my area, the Fredericksburg and Stafford area, right? Now I need some dough. I need some money to bring in, because I still got Crazy for Gaming bills, right? And now I got Micah's ice cream truck bills, mm-hmm. right? So I did a targeted ad that year, and the targeted ad I pushed out to people in my area, just in the Fredericksburg and Stafford area, and I created a birthday party package that included a goodie bag, coloring sheets, 30 minutes, and 4 ice creams for the birthday child. 30 minutes, probably the average birthday party was maybe 15 to 20. Well, $100. And I was booked solid starting from that April, clear on through COVID.
That COVID money.
Right. And so what started to happen was my partnerships that I had built on a Crazy for Gaming side, they started to realize that I own both companies, right? Or I would start doing business with companies on a larger scale, like I was doing with Crazy for Gaming.
Right.
So I was getting companies and contracts with Mike's ice cream truck earlier than I did with Crazy for Gaming, and I started feeling some type of way because I'm like, this dude, he come up and start his business, and he got
out the gate.
Right out the gate. He in Targets, he in Home Depot, he in Lowe's, and so then we started to really start. So we started out doing birthday parties on a smaller scale, and then we started to have partners like all that I named, which are big companies, right?
It's a big deal.
Big companies. So Favor was Favor. And people say, well, how are you making money off of ice cream truck? Favor. Favor and partnerships and relationships. When people talk about your business, you give great customer service, and people talk about your business when you're not in the room, and they say, call Crazy for Gaming, call Micah's ice cream truck. Those relationships are important.
But that brings me to an interesting point. None of this would have happened if you didn't put in the work.
No.
Because you could have easily just shut everything down just like everybody else did. But putting in the work is what kept you and the business alive. Because it's easy to put a prayer out there or, hopes, dreams. But if you don't put work behind it, there's nothing for God to bless. God only blesses the work.
That's right. You have to work. You have to put in the work, and you have to be willing to fail. You got to be willing to fall to get back up, right? Because if I never fall, that I never experience what it feels that process to get back up, because some stuff happens in that process of you getting back up.
There is no, it's not all sunshine and
rainbows.
No, it never will.
No.
I don't care what it is.
No. You gotta, but that's a great thing, as you said. You have to put in the work, and oftentimes it's people that's not putting in the work, that's just kind of looking at you with their own eyes. And what I tell people is, you just now walked in on this chapter of my life. Like we've been doing this, moving and shaking like this for a while. We've been working and putting in the work for years to get to this point, and I'm still not ready. I'm 38, and I'm still not where I want to be.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I still got goals. I still got another business that I'm going to launch in the next year. Right? I'm going to keep getting better and better and better for me, but that's not to say that you can't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but you gotta put in the work.
Yes. So when it comes to the gaming truck specifically, do you have any tips for anybody who may want to go that route?
Yeah, so it does take a lot of, I would say, upfront money. But maybe, if you already have a business, a well-established business, then maybe you can take out a business loan, because people don't tell you that when you first start in business, there are no loans.
No.
There are no grants. That's what people say, but it just doesn't happen. You have to be an established business before that comes.
Or have good credit.
Yes, I have good credit. Right, exactly. So I would say if that's something that you want to do, there's a couple different companies that outfit these gaming trucks. There's probably more now than when I started. Contact a reputable company, look at reviews, start thinking about what you want your design to look like. They should have a reputable company will have templates of game trucks that they have done.
Right.
Because it's not just a game truck. Like you don't have to do a game truck. Like I'm tossing around an idea about doing a spa bus for something catered to little girls. So imagine I'm pulling up to this truck now. I got something that's catered for the boys for the gaming truck, but girls do the gaming truck too. Right. But then having something solely for little girls. They get in, they come in, they got maybe a little dance floor, a little place where they can put on their lipstick, play with some iPads, something mobile to bring for little girls. And you can get it customized any way that you want. And you don't have to have a particular vehicle either. If you get your mind really going, you can turn anything into a mobile entertainment space. You can turn a school bus into that. Big enough school bus, tear out the chairs. Just gotta have vision for it. Yeah, as long as you have vision for it and you have a reputable company, I would definitely recommend that is how you get started. There's some other things that you got to do to register your business and stuff like that. But getting started is just thinking about the idea and finding a reputable company to help you.
Okay.
Because you don't want to be, you can, but when it comes to my brand, it's important, right? So my gaming truck is one of the best game trucks in Virginia, and I'm confident in saying that because I know what I invested in it, right? So your brand speaks for you. So I can't go out here and get no rinky-dink game truck now. It's just not gonna work. Like I probably won't even get any bookings because my customer service and the level of customer service that I provide is up here. Right? So I can't go for my second truck and be down here. It doesn't level out. No, it's not gonna match.
So during the whole process of not only the gaming truck and the ice cream truck, how involved are the kids on a day-to-day with the business?
Great question. So Crazy for Gaming has obviously been around a little longer, so they're kind of over that truck.
Yeah.
They're kind of over that. But Jeremiah works in the game truck as a junior game coach. He knows everything about the game truck. So he was my original game coach. At first, when we first started, it was just me and him. I would drive and he would do the games. I would do the games, set the games for the kids. But it was me and him in the beginning. So he knows a lot. And if he's not doing sports, he will work on the game truck. As far as the ice cream truck, Jeremiah is involved in more of the operational standpoints and stuff. Like he does the orders and stuff. And Micah, he kind of does, a little bit of everything. He likes to eat the ice cream.
Of course.
That's kind of the best part. But they're both involved in, if we need to make a decision as to what ice cream we're bringing back, because we'll have that conversation in the next couple of weeks as we get ready for a busy season. We'll sit down and we'll discuss what's coming back for this year. I give them the autonomy to be able to make those decisions. And that changes their mind frames, their minds right now as an 8 and 13-year-old was so much further than I was at 8 and 13.
I mean, they look at what they have, all they know.
Right. And sometimes I have to remind myself that because the other day, Micah told me that he wanted to be an actor and he wants to act in LA. So, bro, you just skip right over local stuff. You're just going right to LA and you want to be in movies. But when he asked for an ice cream truck,
it happened.
It happened. Right? So he's not afraid to say, I want my own ice cream shop.
His belief system is different.
Yes. His belief system is even different from my belief system. And sometimes I'm inspired by him because he can think in his mind. He knows that anything he manifests right now is going, and do you know how powerful that is?
Yes.
That is powerful to know that anything that you can really think and imagine that it will happen.
Yes.
That is powerful. That is powerful. And I even sometimes have to check myself with that, and I'm getting better, and I just think about Mike, and I'm like, okay, well, let me just remind myself that since I'm manifesting it, it's gonna happen.
And I think a big part of that is just the fact that you have to unlearn some stuff in order to figure that out.
Yep.
He's learning it.
Yep.
Like that's just his curriculum.
Yeah.
That's part of his everyday life. So why not? Why can't he be in that?
Yeah.
And
so,
whatever it is.
Yeah, right. Why can't I? Right. Why don't I deserve this? So it's nothing for Micah to ask to, and he has asked to ride a first class. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing because. And then he gets so much exposure, him and Jeremiah get so much exposure, technology these days and YouTube and stuff. You can YouTube stuff. You know what I'm saying? You can YouTube. Like Jeremiah's into, he was into Bitcoins very heavily last year. So both boys, they do work in a business, but I have to make sure that they have time to be kids too. That's important because we hit it hard that first year. With the ice cream truck, and we was always working, we was always out, we was always building relationships. They needed to see my face as a CEO. They needed to see the boys. They needed to create the story and stick with the story,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like the main thing, let the main thing be the main thing, right? And the main thing was you had these two little black boys that was running their business in the middle of a pandemic.
And surviving.
And surviving. Right.
Thriving.
Right. Thriving. And so I made sure that we did things like when we finally was was blessed to be able to hire our first employee, they were involved in the process. Why should they be? Mm-hmm. Mike's the CEO. Why shouldn't they be involved? So they were there. They handed out the application. They answered, and they asked the questions. They was writing down the answers. All of that. They were very. So what I'm saying is their minds is, they believe anything can happen. They do believe that, and that is a blessing.
That's powerful.
It's powerful
because you can go your whole life without having that kind of thought process, and the quicker you learn that, which very early on they learn that, that's just going to pay dividends when they are in a position to be their own person. The creativity will just flow. Yes,
it'll flow, and I believe that as parents, it's our job to give our children that environment that they can move and shake and have the autonomy to be creative, and we are supposed to support their ideas because kids know a lot, they see a lot, and if we're not cultivating their ideas and cultivating what they're saying and what they need to be a healthy them, then we're doing our kids a disjustice.
Mm-hmm.
We are here to support them and to make shit happen for them.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And we need to be listening to them. So if your kid says that they want to write a book, make it happen so that your kid can write a book. It might take years for that to come to pass that you actually see the book.
Mm-hmm.
But start moving and shaking in a way that you can make it happen.
Because if you do nothing, then it won't ever happen.
It won't ever happen.
And then you just crush the dream.
Yes. And then they learn at an early age about stuff that can't happen.
Right.
And so then they go and move through life doubting themselves, really struggling with fear. You know what I'm saying? And I know because those are some of the things that I struggled with.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to quickly overcome them because I wanted a different outcome.
Yes. So during this whole process of cultivating these businesses, do you feel as though there's a such thing? I had this conversation with a few of my guests. Is there such thing as balance when you're trying to hit those goals? When you're in the middle of those seasons, like is there such thing as being able to have like a balance? Because in certain ways, something has to suffer. Yes. And that doesn't mean that you're neglecting it, but all of your focus needs to be on a specific task. You can't, like you said, you can't be in all places at once. Do you feel as though in those situations there's a such thing as balance?
I think in the beginning, first building out your business, no, there's no balance because you got to go hard. You got to go hard. You got to do some things that maybe 4 or 5 years in business that you won't have to do. But you got to sacrifice. I remember not getting home some nights on Saturdays and Sundays to 10, 11 o'clock at night because I was grinding. There was all day. I would do 4 and 5 2-hour game truck parties. Like I just needed to bust it out, do what I needed to do to build those partnerships and relationships with people. And in the beginning of your business starting out, it's very important for people to see you.
Mm-hmm.
You're a very front-facing leader at that point. But as your business grows, if you wanted to get to that point, example, your podcast, you are here, you are the CEO, right? But if you ever wanted to expand, you could expand. Now, that don't say that you got to move from South Carolina, but you can have a podcast station in Virginia. You can have a podcast station in D.C. That is you expanding, right? And knowing that it's okay for you to not be in all those places, but in the beginning, you gotta do what you gotta do in the beginning. I really didn't, and naturally, it just kind of naturally happened that I wasn't worried about no balance. Like if it had to be done, it needed to be done.
You know what's funny about that? When you are putting in those 10, 12-hour days, they still don't compare to even 6 hours at a job.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't feel like it's never a burden.
No,
Like
not your own
you can
business.
put that 12 hours in, but it's okay because,
Right.
like you
Because
said,
it's
it's
yours.
something that needed to be done.
Right. Right.
And in a lot of ways, those 12 hours, like I said, they just can't compare to
They don't.
4 hours.
They
of
don't.
work.
They don't. They don't. You feel more satisfied. It's just like my husband and I, we did a project at our townhouse where we put down pavements outside. And it was hard. It was one of the hardest things that I've ever done, digging up the dirt and laying down that foundation. But when we came out the door, we had a better respect. We had a better appreciation for that area because we did it. We put in the work. We laid the foundation. If I'd have paid somebody, I wouldn't have had the same type of appreciation for that, right? So, like I said, when you're first starting, you got to lay the foundation in your business. So people should see you as the CEO. They should. And then as your business grows, what happens is you start to cultivate, motivate, and bring out other leaders, train other leaders, and then they actually see less and less of you.
Yes.
That has happened. That is what has been happening in the last 2 years of my business. They encounter me on the phone, but oftentimes I don't even tell them I'm the owner. And if I go out to an event, they don't need to know that I'm the owner.
Right.
So they see my staff out very front facing, and they see them, and I encourage them when they do a review. Mention my game coach's name, mention the driver's name, mention Javante's name, like say it, right? Say that he gave you awesome customer service and they done. So then what happens is they stop talking about me so much, and I'm good with it. I am good with it because as a leader, then I take pride on somebody else that's out here that I can trust, that's really working and moving in my business, that's making stuff happen for me. I have the utmost respect for a person that can be out here working in my business and providing great customer service, top-notch experience, just as well as I do or better.
Right.
I'm going to treat that employee correct.
I mean, because at the end of the day, your name is still on
Yes.
So the fact that you were able to train more leaders to be in a position where you can just be the head. That's the main goal. That's awesome. We could talk about business all day.
We really could.
But I do want to kind of transition into marriage and what that looks like. It's a lot that goes into marriage.
Yes.
But let's go from the beginning. When did you know that you were ready to be a wife?
Oh goodness, that's a loaded question. I think, growing up in a church and just kind of seeing, my mom and dad interact with each other, I always knew that that's something that I wanted. And growing up in a church and being a church girl, you knew that was what you needed to do. That marriage that's what the Bible said, and you needed to get married. You needed to save yourself from marriage, blah, 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 all that comes with that, right? So I knew that I guess I always knew that I wanted to be a wife. Just didn't know who that person was. Right. But when I, dated around in my early 20s, because I got married at 24, 25. But when I knew that he was my husband, I knew that he was my husband. Right. I even knew that I needed to invest a little something into him. You know what I'm saying? But I knew that he had the potential. I knew that he had the potential because at the time when I met him, he wasn't really like husband material, but I knew he could get there.
Hey, we never are.
Right. I knew that he could get there, and really, it wasn't about me changing him. I just knew that he had a lot of growing to do and stuff, but I knew that he would be a great investment. I knew that he would be great ground for marriage. Yeah.
Marriage can be, as you know, it has its ups and downs. It can be very challenging.
Yes.
What are some tips that you have for married couples?
So that's a loaded question. So my husband and I, we've been married. We're about to celebrate 15 years in October.
That's huge.
Yes.
Don't feel like
major. We're being married to one man for 15 years. But I will tell you that. So my husband and I are actually the directors over marriage ministry at our church. and we didn't ask for that position. We was somewhere, probably in Virginia somewhere, and some people, folks came together at a table and they talked about us, right? And they said how they noticed this and how they noticed that, and thought we'd be the perfect couple to carry this assignment through. And by no means are we a perfect couple, because we are not.
There's no such thing.
We are not a perfect couple. We have gone through things. We still going through things. But if I had to give some advice for married couples out there, would be the pillars that we have come up to be successful things that you need in your marriage. And it's cares. So it's communication, affection, respect, expectation, and sex. And so we learned that kind of like at year like 7 to 8 for us was real rocky. Like it was.
So the 7-year itch is
yeah,
real.
yeah. So people would tell us about the 7 years, and then like I said, ours was coming off the 7 years into the 8, and then we was like, okay, here it is. Like we was about to get a divorce, we had lost the baby, but we weren't doing any of those things that I named. We weren't having communication with each other. We weren't praying. There was no affection. There was no respect, expectation, sex. All of that went away.
Out the window.
Yes, away. So when we identified what those things were that we weren't doing and started to doing those things, we identified those things as healthy things that you need in your marriage. If I talk to you, none of those things are, all of those things are familiar.
Right.
Communication, affection, respect, expectation, sex. That kind of covers a lot.
Right.
And still covers a lot, right? So yeah, those are all things that I would tell you that you have to continue to have. You gotta have some hard conversations in marriage.
Yes.
You gotta talk about some stuff that your parents didn't warn you about. Some situations gonna come up. You gonna have maybe some requests. Your wife gonna have some requests that you didn't really think about, but you gotta talk about it, because if you don't talk about it, and you dismiss your your spouse's question or concern, then what you're doing is you're making them feel that they are not valuable. And when your spouse feels that they're not valuable, it's kind of a downhill from there. Yes. When they feel like you can't, they can't come to you and they can't talk to you about something that they're feeling, or even something that they want. You're their best friend. Right. You're supposed to be their biggest cheerleader. And so my husband and I had a situation that come up, something that I wanted to do, and I was very strongly about it, but I didn't even talk to him about it. I didn't talk to him about it because I was afraid of what his response is. And we got to get over that. Like, you got to be able to talk and communicate with stuff, and have those hard conversations, because them hard conversations, that's going to get you to a level to where you are able to help another couple and say, we've been there. Right. You know what I'm saying? And we can be transparent enough to say, here's where we were in this situation. Here is how, here was the process that brought us to 15 or 20 years. This is what got us there. Because I like to know the issues and the problems that you went to. Don't just tell me you got a great marriage. Right. If you've been married 25 years, you ain't always had a great marriage. Right. And you probably divorced and came back. Tell me that story.
You know what an interesting part that a lot of people don't take into account when they say I do, but before that is, you're not just marrying that person. You're marrying their family. Yep. You know, kids, if there are kids involved. Yep. All of that comes with that. Yep. You marrying their values. You marrying their thoughts. You know what I'm saying? Because if your spouse can't come to you, your credit, that is a huge one. Yes. Credit. So you're marrying their baggage. You know, so you gotta have these type of conversations before you get married to kind of put a halt on it, and be like, okay, yeah, that's a deal breaker for me. But you can't have them conversations. I mean, it could come up, but you should really be having those conversations about what a deal breaker is for you, and what, those things that you're not going to stand for, because the wedding ceremony is 10 minutes. Yes. That is it. But 15 minutes top. But that, when you say I do, though, that's supposed to be forever.
That's supposed to be forever. And what some people do is they don't realize, because what we had to really realize is that we were greater than our marriage, right? Like God wants something better for our family, and we really had to really rationalize and really think about that and get in touch with our feelings. Like both my husband and I, we have lived our lives without our biological parents, he's lived without his dad, and so we know what that feels to basically have your family broken up, right? And so that was a big thought for us. How did that make you feel? Do we really want our kids to feel that way? And you can say, well, you have to stay in something to make you and be unhappy. But figure out a way that you can come and be in the middle to be happy. You know what I'm saying? Because you're gonna have that same problem just jumping out of that situation and going into another situation. You're gonna get married again, you take the same problems into the marriage. You're not really fixing the problem. Like, what is the problem? You know what I'm saying? Let's focus on that and let the main thing be the main thing and focus on that, especially if you got somebody worth keeping.
Right. Right. There are some, if your life is in danger, anything like that, get out. Right. But if it can be fixed, at least try to work on it.
Yes.
That's the main thing.
Yes, absolutely. So we were, like I said, placed in the position as we started out as marriage ministry coordinators and started doing some things with the ministry, and then this past year we were elevated to directors. Even that, so that leadership role has shifted for us a bit, and that was a bit hard for me because again I'm a servant leader, so I like to work. I like to. I need to feel busy. I need to feel wanted. I need to feel like I'm putting in the work, right? But I'm putting in the work if I'm investing time to build out another leader. That is work.
You know what's funny? Just to kind of piggyback off what you said earlier about not necessarily being asked for that role. A lot of times, the fact that y'all been married for so long, that automatically makes you an authority in people's eyes. Yes. Just like with the gaming truck business, you are an authority in that space because you have a certain amount of time put into it. Agreed. Yes. So it's not something that like you necessarily have to ask for. Just being able to weather that storm for so long, you're going to automatically become an authority, whether you want to be or not.
Right. This is true. You have working expertise in a subject, like you said, which qualifies you, which I kind of had an issue with that in the beginning with this role as a marriage ministry coordinator, because most of the marriage ministry coordinators that we were encountering, they were ministers. We're not ministers. Right. That's not even. I don't even see that. Right. God has not had that conversation with me over the last. So we didn't look like your average marriage ministry leaders. But what does that look like?
Right.
And times have changed so much, and we got a story. And so our biggest thing is we want to see couples win. Simple.
And can you help? That's the main thing. Can you help couples strengthen their marriage? That's the only thing that should matter.
Right. And I feel like we are a couple that have a strong story about just not giving up. Some people just, especially this last 2 years with COVID, and some couples have been faced with a lot of stuff. They've been really
each other.
Right. Literally, you got couples that's sitting now next to each other, working side by side for the last 2 years because they've been working from home. So they've been forced to get to know each other in ways that they could not even imagine. You right there in my face all day.
Every day.
I got to deal with you all day. We can't go nowhere because everything is shut down. So you're forced to be placed in situations and encounter situations that you really normally wouldn't do because your situation has now changed now, and it's forced you to get to know your partner on a more intimate level. And for some couples, in this season, they didn't make it. They didn't make it because that was uncomfortable for them. Or a lot of couples are going through, but here's what I can respect about a couple that's going through. They're going through and they realize that they are worth it, that their marriage is worth it to stay in it, stick in it, and do the work.
Right.
Do the work. Because if I tell you Travis and I's story, you still got to do your own work.
Yes.
You still got to do your own work. You can't sit up and say, oh, well, they did this, they are doing this, because when I tell you we did the work, man, we did the work. Travis and I can tell you some things that we have gone through in our marriage that you'll be sitting here like, dang. Right? And it might be some things that you go through with your spouse that you never share with anybody else.
Right.
But that experience that you all came out on the other side in a positive light, that's your testimony. And that you and your wife could be counselors. You and your wife can be in a position to help other couples. It's motivation. It's influence.
Yeah.
But you got to be careful with the influence, because you can't take advantage of the influence that you have. It's a very slippery slope with influence. You know, you're grateful to have it, but you gotta hold it like a baby in your hand, and you gotta nurture it, and you gotta just make sure that you do what you're supposed to be doing with that influence. When you have people talk, you know, that's looking at you, they're looking up at you at a leader. You know, and sometimes we get so, like, you know, we do it with the presidents, or like with rappers and stuff like that. Put them on these pedestals. Nobody's perfect. We are all human, and we all make mistakes. Period. That's it.
Some people are looked at differently.
Right.
That's all.
Because of the money that they have. You know.
Or like you said, influence.
Yes. Yes.
Because a lot of times it doesn't. That pedestal is dangerous.
It is dangerous. It's very dangerous. It's very dangerous, and we shouldn't be putting people up on pedestals to where, because what we're doing is we're putting them in a box that we see through. We're looking in the box because we're looking out of our eyes. We think that they didn't need to do that because of the feeling that we have. And it's not our life.
Right.
It's not our life. You are not in that situation.
But the funny part is when I mean, I'm also guilty of this in the past of putting people on pedestals, but it's easy to think of it as an overnight success in a sense.
Yes.
But really, you just didn't see the work that they put in.
Boom.
By the time you were aware of this person, they may already have been 15, 20 years into it. Yes.
You just walked in on the story of that person. So you might get, and maybe that's where that person is in the season and the story of their lives. Maybe they just bought a new Maserati.
Right.
Why do you think that person don't deserve to drive around in that Maserati and with a smile?
And take as many pictures of it as they want.
Exactly.
And post them.
Exactly. Why do you think that person shouldn't enjoy something like that? Did you see the work?
Right.
Because I'm sure they got a story. I'm sure they've put in work. I'm sure they have. Right? And what is up with this? I feel like we need to normalize people having nice things. Like, why is that a bad thing? I tell folks all the time, look, you spend your money on what you spend your money on. Don't be concerned about what I spend my money on, because I know I've put in the work.
Right.
I know I have put in the work, and no, things in life, things are not just about material things. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
It's good to have.
Yes.
It's good to have, and there's nothing wrong with it. You talk to Jay-Z, and Jay-Z has a lot of knowledge. I listen to him a lot when it comes to his motivational speaking, and he had a lot of nice things. He put in the work.
Yes.
He put in the work. So you're going to judge
Years
Jay-Z?
of work.
Years of work. Right. Time in the studio, invested in the studio, perfecting his craft. Why he don't deserve to drive around in a yacht?
Right.
Why he don't deserve to have a jet to fly him from South Carolina to New York? He does. He put in the work. Simple.
Again, God is only gonna bless the work.
Yep. He's only gonna bless the work. And if you are one of the unfortunate people that don't feel like you should work and everything should just fall in your lap, that is whack.
Just go back to sleep.
Yeah, just go back to sleep. Just go back to sleep. You know, and I find myself sometimes, you know, like we can sleep late. Like I'm sleeping now because I'm about to enter into a business that I'm just manifesting. It's just gonna be so much overflow with both of my businesses that it's not like I'm not even gonna be able to handle all the blessings. It's gonna roll down and it's gonna roll off. What's gonna happen? It's gonna roll off into other people that are around me.
Right.
I'm confident in saying that. You should be confident in saying that. You should also be confident in saying that that you have businesses or you have a business that is successful.
Yes.
That people seek out your business. Well, listen, when you get to a level when people start seeking your business out, I got an email the other day, no bull, waiting for me when I woke up, and it was from Dominion Energy. Dominion Energy is one of the largest power companies in Virginia. But they're not only in Virginia, they're in North Carolina, South Carolina, they're here too. Okay. Dominion sent me out. They sent me a message about my ice cream truck company coming to their employees.
Man, that's huge.
Do you know how big that is?
That is huge.
Dominion Energy, they seeking me out.
Man.
I had to email them.
That's just from the work.
I did not have, and it can seem like I'm bragging.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I am bragging because you know what? I
you deserve it.
In the work. That first year, me and my boys was out there on that truck from sun up from 1 o'clock to sometimes 8 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm.
Building partnerships and relationships. We was moving and shaking it really subconsciously. We didn't even realize that's what we was doing because to them it was fun. Mm-hmm. Right? It's a fun business. And then I'm out with my boys teaching them about business. So I put in the work.
More importantly, building the brand.
Yes, and build the brand. Build your brand out and don't have, see, we put limitations on our lives. Mm-hmm. God takes the limitations off.
He said it wasn't no limit.
Yes, because last time I checked, the word of God said, I will provide, period. And I don't feel like God says, I will provide if you do this.
Right.
God says, I will provide. Mm-hmm. Right? We do that to each other. We don't want to provide because you feeling some type of way about me today and I ain't going to extend to you grace. I ain't going to do nothing. God don't do that to us. Mm-hmm. He blesses us, and when he blesses us abundantly, right? And that goes for me, that goes for you, but I just personalize my thing. I'm not just saying that God can't bless you. I'm saying that God is going to bless and he's going to provide overflow for my business, just like you can do the same for yours. And people get that mixed up. They take it as a sense of arrogancy, and they take it as, oh, well, she think whatever you think. Because when you get to this point, and I've gotten to this point, but it took me some time to really just not care about what people say, what people think, especially when you know you put in the work.
That's all that matters.
That is all that matters. It don't matter. It don't matter. Like, I'm not writing them checks off my business account. They not even them same folks is talking, they're not even contributing to my business. Mm-hmm. But they talking. Let them talk. Let them talk.
It's free.
Yeah, it's free. Right. And they talk about Jesus Christ. So how can we think that we're going to get any less? You know, what we got to do is just really just live up to our own expectations, and really don't worry about nobody else's expectations. Because you ain't ever going to live up to nobody else's expectations anyways. Because it's their expectations.
Sometimes we may not even live up to
our expectations.
So how can we live up to somebody else's?
Exactly. We can't go through life doing that. So just, you know, I just always say, you know, as long as you do the work, and as long as you're a great visionary, I'm always going to support a business. I'm not knocking you if you have a 9 to 5, because that's how I started. And I would go back again. I would go and get another 9 to 5 if I had to. Actually, I just had the opportunity, but it wasn't a true opportunity. So I told him, peace out. You know, I am confident in saying now what I'm going to go through, what I'm going to, even with business, some things that I did last year, not happening this year in business. And I do realize some folks going to be pissed off. Mm-hmm. But guess what? When I was lenient last year, years before, about my policies and my prices, you just sucked it up and took it, right? You didn't care about how I suffered as a Black business, right? Because folks assume that you're going to give them discounts. Let me tell you, D, so folks call my phone now about the businesses talking about a discount. I quickly get them off my phone. Because I worked too hard to build both of my businesses up for you to off the gate start talking to me about a discount.
You didn't build on the discount.
You didn't build, right? Exactly. And stuff is high. You know what I'm saying?
And it ain't getting cheaper.
It's not getting cheaper. Gas is $4. You know what I'm saying? So you now, if I give you a discount because you're a returning customer,
It's different.
it's different.
But don't expect anything.
Don't expect, because when you go to Chick-fil-A and you buy that expensive Chick-fil-A sandwich, you ain't asking for no discount.
No.
You're not asking for a discount from Chick-fil-A.
It's not
So
even
why?
coming to your mind.
It's not even coming to your mind to be like, oh, can I get buy one free on a Chick-fil-A sandwich? No. So why do we do that to the small business? Why do we expect or ask for discounts for? And I used to be one of those people, and I quickly changed that because since I am a black-owned business, I don't do that. I've not done that in such a long time. I just your price is your price, so that's what I'm gonna pay. But I never was thinking about that before I became a business owner. So when I became a business owner,
no reason to.
Right, I had no reason to. So when I became a business owner, it was just all perspective. I don't like how that made me feel. So I'm not going to do that to another business.
So I have to touch on what you said earlier about switching from that employee mindset to that CEO mindset. Could you kind of break down like what you meant by that?
Yeah, so you have to figure out and look at your business structure, right? You have to simply ask yourself, do you want your brand to expand? And if your answer is yes, then you are going to be faced with switching from your employee hat to your from your employee hat to an actual CEO. So you start off as a CEO and an employee, right? Mm-hmm. And then you start building your business, and then you ask yourself, do I want my brand to expand? And if that's a yes, then you need to start letting go a little bit, because that's hard. Mm-hmm. That is hard. That is hard. That is hard. And you have to go through that. I can't tell you you just gotta let go. Mm-hmm. You're gonna have to experience that. You're gonna have to do the work. Yeah. Because we all have attachments to our businesses, because in the beginning it's all us. Yes. It's most small businesses ran by 1 to 2 people, more so 1 person.
And you get used to doing things in a certain way.
Yes.
With a certain look. And like you said, it can be difficult to let that part go.
Yes, because it's your baby, and it's something that you've grown. It's something that you've nurtured. It's something that you are familiar with. It's something that you are proud of, right? But what you got to realize is that you can still be all of those things and train people to carry out your vision for you and still be great. But you got to ask that question: do you want to expand? Because some businesses they don't want to expand. They just want to be the CEO, and that's perfectly fine.
Right. If that works for you.
If that works for you, that's perfectly fine. I'm not knocking that, but you just got to have that simple conversation. When I started out, to be honest with you, I wasn't thinking that way. Right. I just was thinking about we were just going to be a game truck company. Then the next year we added laser tag. Then within that same year I added a interactive moon bounce. The next year I added another service, and then it just kept growing and growing. But what was happening, I was like, oh, I'm getting all these services, but I don't have enough people.
Right.
Right? Because I can't be out here from doing a game truck party, but then I'm delivering the phone machine, and then now we got the ice cream machine. The ice cream truck. Like, I can't do everything by myself. Right. Right? So that forces you. So you just have to really cue in on what your larger vision is. When I start talking to people about business and having business consultations, remember that word. Mm-hmm. When I start having business consultations with people, I ask them so you tell me, okay, you want to open up a store. My next question is going to be, how many stores do you have? Right. Because if you just focusing on 1 store, I'm probably not the person that you want to talk to, because I'm always going to have these big, audacious goals, dreams, and aspirations. And it's just going to happen.
You want it to be scaled.
Right. I want it to be scaled. I want it to be big, and that's my brand, right? So when I have these conversations with people, they don't even be thinking about it. They be like, oh, I didn't think about another store. That's what you need to be thinking about. Mm-hmm. Focus on the 1 store, but you definitely need to be thinking about having a store in North Carolina, Virginia, DC, Pennsylvania. Branch out. You also need to be thinking about how you're going to franchise your stuff. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So you have to give thought to all those things, and it might not come in the beginning, but if that's where you want to move into, then you need to start seeing that vision.
it's so. This episode has provided so much information in detail, and I thank you for that. But before we get out of here, I always ask my guests for a two-step to fail moment. Basically, a moment where you overcome adversity and come out stronger on the other side. What would that moment be for you?
Yeah, so I say that moment is daily for me, because daily I have to overcome something, and oftentimes it's the daily stuff that I have to do is dealing with me. It's working with me. It's working within my head, right? Because I'm too stubborn to fail, right? Like, period. Like I should have on my shirt today, but that's a perfect term for me. Like, I'm just never going to stop. I'm just never going to. I'm always going to keep moving forward and excelling and trying to outdo me, because I don't compete with anybody else. That's too much time that I'm wasting trying to compete with somebody else. I'm hard on me. You know what I'm saying? And when I'm hard on me, and I have big goals and expectations for me and my life and my gifts that I put out into the world, right? So I would say it's daily. It's getting up every day. It's being consistent. There are some things that I need to work on with me, and even doing in the business. Like, I just set a goal the other day that I need to get better with content on a Facebook page, an Instagram page. But that don't necessarily mean I got to do it. Right? That means maybe me putting aside money in the budget to hire a marketing manager so that those type of things can get done, right? So just not failing, and if I fail, just get up and keep going. It's a daily thing. I can't just say that I make mistakes each and every day, right? But I use those mistakes and I use those situations as a lesson, right? Even negative situations, they can be used. Turn it around. Like, what's the positive that you can bring out of this situation? You know what I'm saying? Because you can look at everything as a positive. If I go over there and bump my head on the wall, right? Okay, what's the positive? Well, I ain't die. I'm still here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Somebody's situation is always going to be worse than yours. So I think just having the ability to just keep going and just keep bettering yourself, and I desire to have multiple businesses, because if you look at folks that's out here really doing stuff, movers and shakers in the world, they have their hands in different things.
Everything.
They invest in, right? They invest in. They are. They got different businesses, and let's normalize the fact of planting businesses. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't have to be here,
right,
but I can plant a business here. If I have the funds or if I have the access to help somebody else, well, how can that work, right? Because then I got a Crystal King mall in South Carolina, and I don't have to be here. But I can provide something for that business. You know what I'm saying? We need to really normalize that, right? Normalize having things in different places other than where you live at, right? Normalize making money like legit in your sleep. You have an online boutique. You don't have to be in front of your computer to make money. People on your website, they clicking at something while you sleep. People sending me bookings and booking my game truck and my services, the ice cream truck, in the middle of the night, because they got this stuff going on in their mind. They thinking about your business in the middle of the night, so you can make money and you don't have to be awake. You know what I'm saying? Like, but just keep moving. Don't give up, and just give life your best. And don't take stuff so seriously. You got something that you're going through with somebody. Get over it quickly. That is, and that's nothing about business, but that is just, for me, that's just a sound thing that you can give people in life advice. Like, you have an argument, get over it. Go apologize to that person. Sometimes you got to be the bigger person. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm failing by holding on to that. Because to me, that takes me away from my genius business mind. That takes my thoughts away from me creating another multi-million-dollar company. I don't have time to be worried about silly conversations. because it takes time away from me to do what I need to do and to give my all and pour into something that really is worth my time. You know what I'm saying?
Which is the most valuable commodity that we have.
Yeah. So that's why when we see folks like Jay-Z, Beyonce, these folks walking around unfazed and unbothered, do you know how much it really took for them to get to that point?
A lot.
Just to be like, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
And it's not worth my time.
It's not. See, the not worth my time thing is something. It is something about saying things that are not worth your time. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like when you start talking about what you worth, you got to really realize and focus in on what you are worth. What is Crystal worth? You know what I'm saying? And I mean, I have sat down and really did the math. Mm-hmm. Like really come up with your number about what you are worth. Mm-hmm. I'm worth a different price in Micah's ice cream truck than I am in Crazy for Gaming. And that is real talk, right? If you calling, you requesting me, got it, but I'm going to come with a cost. Yes. But I work for that. Mm-hmm. Do you understand? People call and they talk. They want to book Mike's ice cream truck, and they read the story and they are requesting. Was Micah going to be there? Micah comes with a cost. Mm-hmm. At 8 years old, he already has a bio. He has already done some things. Do you understand? So can you imagine what a little boy like Micah at 8 years old, at 20 years old, what he's going to cost? I'm probably not even going to be able to afford him as his mama.
Hey, I might have to pay him for an interview.
But people don't really realize what they are worth. Mm-hmm. They go through life letting people run over top of them and letting people say whatever they want to say. And that trickles down into everything in life. That trickles down to how you look at yourself, how you carry out your business, how you visualize for your business, how you visualize for your job. Because it all starts with self. Mm-hmm. And you got to work on yourself first before you can contribute in a healthy way to any of these other things in life. So I don't have it all, but that's just a little bit of that's
well,
just
we're
a
gonna
little
have
bit
to
of
have you back because we could literally talk about these subjects for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
But before we get out of here, where can the people follow you?
So you can follow me on Facebook. My personal page is Crystal King. There's a lot of us on there, but y'all see me on here, so just remember the picture. I'm always taking a picture. My Facebook page, Crystal King, and then Mike's Ice Cream Truck on Facebook, as well as Instagram, and Crazy for Gaming, Video Game Theater, and Mobile Laser Tag on Facebook and Instagram too.
All right. Y'all heard it here first. You made it to this point.
Yes.
Make sure you comment, like, subscribe to the channel. Mm-hmm. We appreciate each and every one of you. This has been another amazing episode of the Too Stubborn to Fail podcast. I am your host, Darren Perkins. We had Crystal King in the building today.
Yes.
And we're signing out.